You wake up every morning thinking the fight is out there. You think it's about proving people wrong, getting revenge, silencing haters, or beating some competitor. But the truth is, the real fight has never been out there. It's inside your own head. It's you against you. Every single day, there's a version of you that wants to quit, that wants to scroll, that wants to take it easy. That voice that tells you, it's fine, you've done enough. That's your biggest enemy. That's the voice that kills more dreams than failure ever could. You don't lose when someone beats you. You lose when you stop fighting yourself. Most people never understand this because they've never truly met themselves. They live their entire lives avoiding silence, avoiding thought, avoiding that moment when they have to look in the mirror and see what they really are. They fill their heads with noise because silence forces truth. And truth hurts. Truth reveals how lazy you've become, how much potential you've wasted, how many promises you've broken to yourself. That's why so many people hide behind excuses. Because it's easier to lie to the world than to confront the weak version of themselves that lives inside their own mind. When you wake up in the morning, you're in a battle whether you realize it or not. The alarm goes off, and that little voice whispers, sleep a little longer. The world calls that comfort. I call it surrender. Every time you give in to that voice, you make it stronger. You feed it. You let it grow until it runs your entire life. And that's why men today are lost. They're slaves to their own weakness. They obey their feelings instead of their mission. You have two versions of yourself fighting for control every single day. There's the weak one, lazy, emotional, undisciplined, soft. And then there's the strong one, the disciplined, relentless, unbreakable man inside you who doesn't negotiate with weakness. The outcome of your life depends on which one you feed more. You can't win this war once. You have to win it every day, every hour, every decision. You have to treat every action like a battle because it is one. People talk about motivation as if it's some magical spark that suddenly changes everything. That's not how it works. Motivation fades. Discipline doesn't. The internal battle isn't about hype, it's about control. When that weak voice says, take a break, you move anyway. When it says, you've worked hard enough, you push harder. When it says, you'll do it tomorrow, you do it now. That's how you win, not with words, but with action. Every rep, every grind, every step forward when your mind screams stop. That's a victory over yourself. You see, success isn't about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. You can't compare your journey to anyone else because nobody else has your battles. The only competition worth fighting is the one against your reflection. And the truth is that reflection knows you better than anyone. It knows when you're lying to yourself. It knows when you're pretending to put in effort. It knows every time you said, I'll start tomorrow. And it judges you silently every single day. That's the part of yourself you have to destroy. The liar, the excuse maker, the quitter. When you start to see yourself as your biggest obstacle, everything changes. You stop blaming circumstances, luck, or people. You stop waiting for opportunities. You realize that every limitation you've ever faced came from your own choices. You realize that discipline isn't a punishment, it's a weapon. The moment you accept that, you start taking your power back. The man who controls himself cannot be broken because he's already fought the hardest fight, the one inside his own mind. Every morning is an opportunity to choose who wins today, the weak you or the strong you. Every choice matters. When you pick the gym over laziness, you win. When you work while others rest, you win. When you keep your word to yourself, even when no one's watching, you win. And that's how real men are built, in silence through war with themselves. Because the truth is, there's no enemy more dangerous than your own weakness, and there's no victory greater than mastering yourself. Discipline over emotion. That's the difference between the men who win and the men who talk about winning. You see, emotion is the greatest liar you'll ever meet. It convinces you that you're tired when you're not. It tells you to quit when you're just getting started. It whispers that you've done enough, that you've earned rest, that you deserve comfort. But the truth is, emotions are soft. They shift with every mood, every inconvenience, every little challenge life throws at you. And if you live by your emotions, You'll live like a leaf in the wind, moving wherever the breeze takes you, never in control, never strong. A man who's controlled by his feelings is a slave. A man who's controlled by his discipline is free. Most people don't understand that. They think freedom means doing whatever you feel like doing. That's not freedom. That's chaos. True freedom is doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's waking up when the alarm hits, not when your body wants to. It's showing up to work when your mind says, just one more day off. It's pushing through pain when everything inside you screams stop, because that's what separates the average from the elite. The ability to act regardless of emotion. Every successful man you admire, every champion, every leader, every entrepreneur, they all mastered the same principle: feelings are irrelevant. The world doesn't care how you feel. Life doesn't pause because you're tired, sad, or unmotivated. The bills don't stop. The competition doesn't stop. The clock doesn't stop. So why should you? You think discipline is hard. Try living with regret. Try living with the knowledge that you had a chance to build something extraordinary, but you chose comfort instead. That's the real pain. The pain of wasted potential. You can't rely on emotion to guide your life because emotion has no logic. One day you're motivated, the next day you're depressed. One week you're consistent, the next you disappear. You say you want success, but your actions change every time your feelings do. That's why you need discipline. It doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is the voice that says, do it anyway. It's the part of you that moves when your mind hesitates. It's the weapon that destroys weakness before it destroys you. When you start training your mind to act without asking how you feel, everything changes. You start building momentum. You start becoming reliable, not to others, but to yourself. You start to trust your own word. That's something most men never experience because they're emotional wrecks pretending to be strong. They say they'll wake up early, then hit snooze. They say they'll get in shape, then find excuses. They say they'll grind, then waste hours scrolling through nothing. And then they wonder why they're stuck. It's because they've been ruled by their emotions their entire lives. You want to know the truth? The world respects results, not reasons. Nobody cares about your mood. Nobody cares about your bad day. The universe rewards consistency, not feelings. And once you understand that, once you truly let it sink in, you'll stop negotiating with yourself. You'll stop saying, I'll do it tomorrow, and start saying, I do it now. You'll stop waiting for motivation because you'll realize discipline is the only motivation that lasts. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. You don't need to feel inspired. You need to act, because the man who acts when he doesn't feel like it is unstoppable. He's rare. He's dangerous. He's the kind of man who wins when others quit. That's what life rewards, not emotion, but execution. Every rep in the gym, every late night hour of work, every sacrifice you make when your emotions beg you to stop, that's the proof that you're in control. That's what builds confidence. Not words, not feelings. Discipline. Emotions are temporary. Discipline is permanent. The world will always test you. You'll wake up some days and feel broken, tired, uninspired. But if you can still move forward, if you can still execute your plan without emotion deciding for you, then you've already won the most important battle. Because the man who controls his actions regardless of emotion controls his destiny. He becomes untouchable, unshakable, unbreakable. He becomes the kind of man others follow because they can't understand how he keeps going when everything tells him to stop. That's what separates a man of strength from a man of talk. The ability to move with purpose when emotion demands surrender. Every man has a moment where he stands in front of the mirror and realizes he's been lying to himself. That's the moment of truth. The mirror test. It's not about your reflection. It's about what stares back at you when the world goes silent. It's when you look into your own eyes and ask, am I proud of the man I see? Because the mirror doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your intentions, your plans, or your dreams. It reflects what you've actually done. You can't hide from it. You can lie to everyone around you, but you can't lie to yourself. The reflection knows the truth. Most people avoid that mirror because they're afraid of what they'll see. They walk past it like it's an enemy. They don't want to see the man who promised to start but never did. They don't want to face the man who says he wants greatness but keeps settling for average. They'd rather scroll through their phones than face their own reflection because deep down, they know the mirror exposes everything. The laziness, the inconsistency, the weakness. The mirror doesn't speak, but it tells you everything you don't want to hear. You can look successful online, you can talk strong around your friends, but when it's just you and the mirror, there's no hiding. It shows what you really are, not what you pretend to be. And that's the problem with most men today. They're actors in their own lives. They play a role instead of building a reality. They flex ambition but live with excuses. They chase validation instead of transformation. But the mirror doesn't clap for potential. It judges progress. It doesn't care about what you could be. It only shows what you are right now. That's why you need to face it, not with fear, but with honesty. Stand in front of it and take the hit. If the man staring back isn't who you said you'd be, don't run from that pain. Use it. That pain is the truth trying to wake you up. It's your conscience screaming, "You're wasting time." That's not a bad thing. It's a signal. It's telling you to evolve, to fix what's broken, to become who you were meant to be. But you can't evolve until you accept where you are. You can't win the war if you don't even know the battlefield. When I look in the mirror, I don't see comfort. I see accountability. I see a man who has no one else to blame. That's how you build power, through ownership. The weak point fingers, the strong take responsibility. Every scar, every failure, every mistake, it's on you. And that's a good thing, because if it's your fault, it means it's also your power to change. The man who owns his reality controls his destiny. The mirror test is a war between truth and ego. Your ego will try to protect you, telling you you're doing fine, that you're doing your best. But deep down, you know that's a lie. You know you could do more. You know you've been playing small. The mirror destroys the ego because it doesn't care about your comfort. It exposes your reality. That's why growth starts there. Before you build muscles, money, or status, you have to build honesty. You have to face the reflection and admit, I'm not where I want to be because I haven't done what it takes. That level of honesty hurts. But that's the kind of pain that builds men. Every time you pass that mirror, ask yourself one question. Would the man I want to become be proud of the man I am right now? If the answer is no, don't feel sorry for yourself. Fix it. Use it as fuel. Use that reflection as your rival. Every day, try to beat that man staring back. Make him stronger, sharper, more disciplined than yesterday. That's the real competition, not some stranger on the internet, not your friend, not your enemy. It's the reflection. The man who wins that fight becomes unstoppable. You can't fake the mirror. It sees through every excuse, every lie, every bit of laziness you try to justify. You either pass the test or you don't. But once you learn to face it every day, brutally, honestly, relentlessly, you start to transform. Because the moment you stop hiding from the truth, you start rebuilding yourself from it. The mirror isn't your enemy. It's your reminder of who you are and who you still need to become. Every single day, you wake up with one mission: to outwork the man you were yesterday. That's the real game. Not competing with the world, not trying to prove something to others, but proving something to yourself. You're in a constant race against your past self, and the only way to win is to make sure the man you are today would destroy the man you were last week. That's how growth happens, not in giant leaps, but in the daily decision to do more, to be more, to demand more from yourself. Most people waste their entire lives comparing themselves to others. They look at another man's car, his money, his physique, and they get jealous. They forget that none of that matters. The only person worth competing with is the person you were. If you're the same as you were last month, you've failed. If your mindset hasn't evolved, your habits haven't improved, your discipline hasn't strengthened, you're losing. Because life doesn't stay still. You either rise or you fall. There is no middle ground. You have to outwork your old self every single day. That means waking up earlier than you used to. That means training harder than you did before. That means learning more, focusing more, cutting off distractions faster than you ever have. Every time you think you've done enough, remind yourself that yesterday's effort isn't good enough today. The man you were before should be terrified of who you're becoming. That's how you know you're on the right track. when your old habits can't survive in your new standards. The problem is, most people don't evolve because they get comfortable with who they are. They achieve something small and they think they've made it. They start to relax, they start to celebrate, they start to believe the hype. That's when weakness creeps back in. Comfort kills hunger. And once your hunger dies, so does your growth. You have to stay in a constant state of improvement, like a machine that never stops upgrading. Because the truth is, if you're not progressing, you're regressing. Think about it, your past self is your shadow. It's always following you, reminding you of who you used to be. Every time you skip a workout, every time you waste a day, that shadow gets closer. Every time you show discipline, that shadow fades a little more. The goal is to keep that old version of you buried so deep that he never catches up. Because that old version was weak. He doubted himself. He made excuses. He wasted time. And if you ever stop pushing forward, he comes back. That's why you have to keep moving, keep grinding, keep fighting. Not for applause, but to make sure that old version of you never wins again. You have to become addicted to improvement. Not in a shallow, motivational way, but in a real, obsessive way. Every single day, you should ask yourself, what did I do today that made me better than yesterday? If you can't answer that question honestly, then you wasted a day. And the brutal truth is you don't have many to waste. Time is running. Every sunrise is a countdown. The man who keeps improving, even by 1% every day, becomes unstoppable. The man who stays still gets crushed by his own stagnation. The reason some men win in life isn't because they're lucky or gifted. It's because they refuse to accept yesterday's version of themselves. They're never satisfied. They celebrate for a moment, then they move again. They don't need validation. They don't need motivation. They have a hunger that doesn't fade, a hunger to be better than they were always. That's what separates the strong from the weak. The weak look around for competition. The strong look within. When you start living like this, life becomes simple. You stop being jealous. You stop comparing. You stop caring about who's ahead of you because you realize it's not about them. It's about you. It's about whether you can look back a year from now and say, I don't even recognize that old version of me. That's the goal. To evolve so fast, so consistently, that your past self wouldn't even understand the man you've become. You have to make progress your obsession. You have to build a life where improvement is the standard, not the exception. Because at the end of the day, it's not you against the world. It's you against who you were. And the man who keeps winning that battle, he becomes unstoppable, unbreakable, and undeniable. Everybody wants to be seen winning. Everybody wants the world to clap for them, to recognize them, to say, look at him, he's doing great. But the truth is, real winners don't chase attention, they chase progress. Real men don't broadcast every step they take. They build quietly. They don't post the grind, they live it. They don't announce their goals, they execute them. Because when you're truly focused on becoming great, you don't have time to talk about it. You're too busy doing the work. That's the difference between dreamers and doers. The dreamers want validation before the victory. They need applause before they've earned it. They want to look successful instead of being successful. But the doers, they stay in the shadows. They disappear for months, even years, because they're obsessed with results, not recognition. And when they finally step back into the light, the world doesn't even recognize them. That's how transformation works. It happens in silence, in discipline, in isolation. The problem today is that everyone's addicted to showing off effort instead of achieving excellence. They record every workout, every little win, every bit of progress, as if the world needs to know. But the truth is, the world doesn't care. Nobody's clapping for your effort. They're waiting for your results. They'll cheer when you've already made it, not while you're still trying. So stop trying to impress people who wouldn't notice if you failed. Start building something so powerful that when it's done, you won't have to say a word. It'll speak for itself. Silence is power. You don't owe anyone updates on your journey. You don't need to explain your grind, your plan, or your progress. Let them wonder, let them doubt. Let them think you've fallen off. Because when you come back stronger, sharper, richer, and more disciplined, the same people who ignored you will start asking how you did it. And that's the sweetest part. Proving yourself through action, not talk. When you build in silence, you eliminate pressure. You free yourself from expectation. You move at your own pace with your own vision without the noise of other people's opinions. You stop performing for the crowd and start working for the mission. That's when you start to see real results. Because success requires focus, and focus can't survive when your energy is divided between doing and showing. Every minute you spend trying to look successful is a minute you're not becoming successful. Most people don't realize how dangerous it is to seek validation too early. When you announce your goals to the world, you trick your brain into feeling like you've already achieved something. You get a little rush of pride, a little bit of attention, and then you lose the hunger. That's why so many people quit halfway. They got the dopamine hit without earning the victory. You can't afford that. You need to protect your hunger. You need to protect your ambition. And the way you do that is by keeping your work private until it's undeniable. Every champion you've ever admired has had a season of silence, that phase where nobody believed in them, where they trained alone, worked alone, suffered alone. And that's what built their greatness. The isolation, the consistency, the patience, that's where real success is forged. The spotlight doesn't build warriors. The shadows do. Because it's in those silent hours when no one's watching that you decide who you really are. So disappear for a while. Cut the noise. Stop broadcasting. Stop explaining yourself. Build, work, improve. When you finally show the world what you've created, they won't need proof. They'll see it. They'll feel it. They'll know it. That's the power of silent progress. It's undeniable. You can't fake results, and that's exactly why they're worth waiting for. People who build in silence always win in the loudest way, because when you're quiet, you're dangerous. Nobody sees you coming. Nobody knows your next move. You're not out there trying to prove a point. You're out there creating something no one can argue with. And when it's done, when it's real, when it's solid, that's when the world finally hears the noise. Not from your words, but from your success echoing everywhere. The biggest war you'll ever fight in your life isn't with another man, it's with yourself. Every single day, you wake up and you're in the ring with your own weaknesses, your laziness, your doubts, your excuses, your distractions, and your emotions. That's the real enemy. It's not the economy. It's not your family. It's not your circumstances. It's you versus you. And the man who learns to conquer himself becomes unstoppable. The hardest thing in life is not achieving success. It's controlling the mind that sabotages it. You can have the best opportunities, the best tools, the best environment, but if your mind is weak, you'll throw it all away. You'll make excuses. You'll procrastinate. You'll self-destruct. Because the truth is, the battlefield isn't outside. It's inside your head. That's where your real fight begins every morning. You wake up and your mind whispers, stay in bed. You want comfort, but your purpose demands pain. You want to rest, but your vision demands effort. You want ease, but greatness only comes through suffering. Every time you choose comfort, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you give into weakness, you kill a bit of your potential. But when you stand up, when you push yourself, when you do what you said you would even when you don't feel like it, that's when you start to separate yourself from the rest. Nobody's watching you when you fight these battles. Nobody's cheering when you decide to wake up early, to study, to train, to keep going when you're exhausted. But that's exactly when you're building the version of you that will dominate in public. The work you do in private is what creates the power you show in the world. And the reason most people never reach that level is because they lose the fight against themselves long before the world ever tests them. Discipline is self-respect. When you can tell yourself no, when you can delay gratification, when you can control your emotions, that's power. Most people are slaves to their moods. They only work when they feel like it. They only move when it's convenient. But the man who acts regardless of emotion is the man who wins. You can't wait for motivation. You must move through discipline. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline is permanent. It's a promise you make to yourself that no matter how you feel, the mission continues. The enemy within you will always whisper lies. It will tell you you're tired, that you've done enough, that one day off won't hurt, that comfort is earned. But that voice is poison. It's the same voice that will keep you broke, weak, and average. You can't negotiate with it. You must silence it. Every time it speaks, you must answer with action. Every time it tells you to quit, you must go harder. Because that's how you take back control, by proving to yourself that your mind obeys you, not the other way around. You have to realize there's a version of you out there living the life you dream about, stronger, richer, more disciplined, more respected. That version of you isn't a fantasy. It's real, but he's locked behind your excuses, your laziness, your fear. And the only way to reach him is to go to war with the version of you that keeps losing. You have to kill your weakness daily. You have to destroy the part of you that wants comfort. You have to starve your distractions, silence your doubts, and feed your purpose. You can't cheat this process. You can't pretend to be that man. You have to earn it. Every decision, every repetition, every sacrifice adds up. You become what you repeatedly do. If you repeat weakness, you become weak. If you repeat discipline, you become unstoppable. And one day, you'll look back at your old self and realize that he died, and you're glad he did. Because that version of you couldn't handle the life you're living now. Every moment of the day, you're making a choice. The weak you or the strong you. The victim or the warrior. The talker or the doer. The quitter or the conqueror. Every second counts. Because every time you choose the strong version, you take one step closer to becoming the man you were meant to be. And every time you choose the weak one, you fall further away from your destiny. It's that simple. So when you wake up tomorrow and that voice tells you to rest, to skip, to quit, remember, it's not about comfort. It's about control. It's about dominance. It's about conquering the only enemy that truly matters, yourself. Because once you win that battle, no one on this planet can ever stop you. At the end of it all, everything comes down to one simple truth. It was never you versus them. It was always you versus you. The world doesn't owe you anything, but it will respect you when you've earned it. The universe doesn't reward wishes, it rewards work. Every moment you wasted comparing yourself to others, chasing attention, or doubting your worth was a moment stolen from the version of you who could have won. This entire journey. The pain, the silence, the isolation, the discipline. It's not meant to break you, it's meant to build you. Every rejection, every setback, every lonely night when nobody believed in you was a test to see how badly you really wanted it. And if you kept going, if you kept fighting, if you refused to surrender, then you've already won more than most people ever will. Because victory doesn't start when you succeed, it starts when you refuse to quit. So stop waiting for the right time, the perfect moment, or someone else's approval. Take control. Take ownership. Make every day a statement that you're not here to exist. You're here to dominate. You don't need to prove anything to anyone but yourself. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You need results. Because one day when you look back, it won't be the noise that matters. It'll be the proof of who you became. The man who fought his demons. The man who didn't fold when it got hard. The man who built himself from nothing and became unstoppable. That's the real victory. That's what you vs you means. It's not a slogan, it's a way of life. And if you live it, if you breathe it, if you commit to it every single day, you won't just win, you'll become a force that no one, not even your old self, can ever stand against.